All right, welcome. We are now in part 2 of module 5, where we're talking about local storage and its components. So we're going to start going heavy on two things that I talked about in 5.1, which is going to go ahead and be the master boot record and the fluid partition tool, okay? So these two pieces right here really hone. Actually, I didn't realize that was that high up. Okay, cool. So yeah, so these two pieces right here, I'm going to go into a little bit of details of some of them and why. As I said in the previous one, the more older one is going to be the MBR, or how we create an MBR. The newer one's going to be more associated with the GPT. Okay, that's going to be more modern. So let's go ahead and understand these a little bit more as we go ahead and dive in. So for the MBR side of things, let's go ahead and I'm going to make this just that big. All right, cool. So as I said before, was originally the traditional partitioning method that we did. We use this to go ahead and partition traditionally because this is the way we always did things. Now over time, technology gets better, we find new ways we can make things better. And part is because the fact that MBR is kind of limited in what it can do. First of all, it only allows you to have 4 primary partitions. So you can only split them into 4 primary partitions. And then what you then can do is you can take one of those, you can extend one primary into logical partitions. So you can see that just by this right here, the MBR is very limited. Now think about why that would be, why it's not, that's something we won't need to use anymore. Well, operating systems are getting bigger. We're not talking about DOS, we're not talking about Windows 95, 98. We're getting more robust operating systems. So this is not going to work. And out comes the GPT. And in GPT, we had this idea that, it is more modern. Oh, I can't spell modern apparently. So it is more modern compared to its actual predecessor, which is the MBR. But also, one of the things that this also does is it addresses a lot of issues that MBR actually suffered from, which allows you to support more than 4 partitions. So that's really important because now we can actually have more than 4. And for these big devices and everything else, we got this idea. So we're just going to talk about, well, how we do this, how we check this in our system. Well, we have a command, and here's a new command for y'all today. fdisk, okay? And what fdisk does is it gives us the current partition table. All right, so let's go ahead and see how this works in action. All right, let's go ahead and pull this over here. So we're going to do fdisk help. Again, notice all these commands are going to be running. I'm just going to be using the help to kind of introduce you. So fdisk l list partition table. Let's do that first. We're going to do fdisk l, and this is going to go ahead and give us list the partition table. Let's see what that looks like. fdisk l. Oh, that's lowercase l. I don't have the permission, so let's go ahead and do sudo. There we go. All right. So here's my output right here. All right. So my hard drive is 16 gigabytes. This is how much it is in bytes, and these are how many sectors there are in this actual hard drive. If you go and take a forensics class on hard drives, you'll dive into this a lot more. So a sector is equal to 512 bytes. Okay, so that's what they're talking about. Sector size is 512 bytes by 512 bytes. That's the input-output size. This is what it's labeled as, what I just identifier as, and this actually is hexadecimal. Okay. So notice that the SDA1, this is what I use to boot from. starts at 2048 and ends here. And that's that many sectors, which is equivalent to 1 gig. That's Linux. And then there's the rest of it, SDA2, which is going to be the rest of the hard drive itself. And that's 15 gigs. Notice that adds it to 16. The ID is 8E. Oh, excuse me. And that's the next LVM. Now, this LVM thing, this stands for logical volume. And we'll talk about this a little bit later in the course, in this section. But just know that stands for logical volume. So we were able to do this right here. And now we have this dev mapper, CL root and CL swap. So 13.4 gigs for the root and 1.6 gigs for the swap. We'll talk about swap in another, in probably 5.4, which is advanced, or actually, let me see. No, 5.3. So in the next lecture, we'll talk about swap. And what is it and why it's important, I think. But just know that there's swap here. Okay. So if we want to go ahead and create a new partition, so if I do an fdisk and I did a tac help, notice that the command, to do a, all right, let's see. And we're going to look at how we can create new partitions real quick. All right, so when it comes to fdisk, there is an actual application you can do. And in fdisk and everything, unfortunately, my central assistant does not have that application. Typically, if you want to go ahead and create a new partition, you would type in fdisk right here. And then once you type in fdisk, it gives you a couple different options where n will be represented as a new partition. Okay, partition. And then we got P. Once you actually say you want to make a new partition, you're like, hey, the first one, let's say we want to make is a primary. Maybe if it's an E, it's going to be extended. And then if we want to go ahead and make sure we're saving what we did, this can save the changes, and then we can quit now. So this is how we would use it to create an MBR. fdisk is kind of like, we don't really use that anymore. There is another tool that I'm going to talk about too. This other tool is going to be called, I'll put this over here. So I'm going to put this over here. That tool is going to be called Pardon. Okay, let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and look at Pardon. All right, so Pardon is a little bit different. Again, apply commands in perimeter. If no commands given, run in interactive mode. So let's actually see what that looks like. So we can type in Pardon. So notice it says I couldn't get to it. Well, it's because I need to actually have permission. Welcome to the new Pardon. Type help to be a list of commands. Let's do that. So these are all the commands I can run. I can go ahead and name a partition number as a name. I can go ahead and rescue. I can resize. I can select a device. I can go ahead and toggle. I can go ahead and get units, display the version, print the number of devices. So this has a very similar way we can actually use this to create a master boot record using Pardon. I can also just do a quit. Let's do a Pardon tac L. And I need to be sudo. So you can see right here, we get very similar output, not entirely, but similar. So this is actually SDA 17.2 gigs. Its partition table is MS-DOS. It's a 512-byte sector. We have starting at 1,059 kilobytes, ends at 1,075 megabytes. So notice it does a little bit of the actual conversion for us. And it says that the file type is XFS. Oh, excuse me, for the boot flag, okay? So remember, we talked about this one right here being the boot. Let me go back up. There you go. SDA1 was labeled as boot. So yeah, so we're good there. So if you want to make a file system, we can go ahead and actually do this. Make MKFS. This stands for make a file system. Okay, so we can actually take a look at that real quick. Make a Linux file system. Okay, so we got that right there. We can decide to say what type. When unspecified notice, it says that it's the ext2, okay, is used. So we got this idea here. We can make a file system. And once you go ahead and make a file system, let's say, for example, we are having issues with our file system, okay? We can actually go and fix that, which is what's called FSCK, which this is FSCK. This stands for, it's kind of obvious, file system check, okay? So let's go to check help. And again, check all file systems. Let's run it and see what happens. Now, let's go ahead and see what it says. Tag A. All right, so, and this one checks, fixes FS issues. So that's really important to know if your file system is actually having issues. So notice I'm running it right here, but I'm not giving it the file system, which is fine. But this is so you can see if you need repair. If you need a repair box, this is very helpful, or a hard drive. Very helpful to repair stuff. If you want to display the progress bar, lock the device to guarantee system access, you can do that. Do not show the title on startup. Explain what is being done. You can kind of alter those to go ahead and do what you need to do. Now, there's another one we can talk about. I'm going to move this over. Keep recentering. This one's called dump E2FS. And this one provides details about extended FSs. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. Let's look at that. Dump E2FS, check help. And let's see, I think I may have this. Let me just check real quick. I think I may have this. No, don't be E2FS. Okay, cool. I thought I wrote it wrong. So what does this mean? Invalid option. Let's just see. Man dump E2FS. All right, so here's the man page for it. So we can dump the file systems that are extended 2, extended 3, or extended 4 and give us information. So we can go ahead and get the idea there, and that provides us details about extended file systems, okay, the XT file systems. Now we can also tune them. Let's go ahead and exit here. We can also tune them. We can do a tune to FS, tech help. And let's go ahead and do this. Let's go ahead and do a man to FS. Adjust tunable file system parameters on ext2. So notice that this one also works the ext file systems. Tune to FS. Adjust tunable. So what does that mean? It allows the administrator to adjust various tunable file systems on EXT's FS. The current value also can be displayed by using the tag L. So let's go and look at that. All right, let's come here. Tune to FS tag L. Okay. So we got this idea here. We got the tag L. Yeah. The only thing we're missing for this to work and why it's not giving us anything is because the command is incomplete. We're missing the file system. We need to tune. What is it we want? Cool that you're going to give me the flag, but what is it you need? What file system needs to be tuned? Okay. But I'm not gonna, because you can't really do this on your system, I'm not gonna go into a lot of detail about this. But this is how you actually gonna create local storage and everything else. And then we also have a couple other ones. We have one called debugfs. And let me go ahead and look quickly. There you go. So we have one called debugfs. And that debugs file systems. Now, this one comes with a caveat. Do not use on an actively mounted file system. And this is really crucial and important, okay? I'm gonna go ahead and just say, do not, I repeat, do not use this on an actively mounted file system. That's a really good big issue, because when you try to debug something, if it's active and it's actually constantly being written to, it can be a problem with the debugging process and cause a lot of issues. So we also have the XFS tools. Okay, so XFS. Let's go ahead. XFS tac help. Let me just make sure I looked at this right. Yeah. So, and these are going to be these right here. We have the XFS dump and restore to back up and restore a file system that's XFS type. We have the XFS info, which provides basic file system info and file systems that are currently mounted. So let's go ahead and look at that one real quick. So we have XFS dump / restore. We also have XFS _ info, XFS _ check, and XFS _ repair. And these are kind of for, and then these are going to be in the slide, and the slides can be found in your resource section. But let's go look at that. XFS _ info. And let's go ahead and actually do SDA1. No such file directory. Do SDA? No. Okay. So if you want to go ahead and do this, we need to go ahead and find the mount point or the device or the file. Okay. I haven't gone into that a little bit, but just know that you can use this to go ahead and get information about XFS. Again, because you can't really do it with your systems, it's very just kind of helpful. Now, the other two commands that are going to be very helpful are going to be these two, DAU and DF. Okay, so let's go ahead and do what look at DU. DU stands for disk usage. Okay, so I can type in DU, and I can get a list of how my disk is being used. All right, let's actually do this instead. Type it into less. Okay, so notice I can't, I'm trying to get this, but I can't. Why? I don't have permission. So let's go ahead and do a sudo du. There we go. So now you can see right here, this is going to be the bytes and the file that how big the bytes are in the file. Okay, so we can kind of see how much is taking up our stuff in regards to on the drive itself. So I'm just going to go up a little bit more. All right, not able to get much, but yeah. So that's what disk usage. You can also type in DF, and this one actually stands for disk file systems. So this is the ones that are already mounted. Okay, so DF, and if you want to see DF tac help, show information about the file system on which each file resides, or all file systems by default. Okay, so we can just type in DF again. And you can see right here, we have the different types of file systems, the 1K blocks that they pick up, how much has been used, how much is available, gives you a rough percentage, and then what it's mounted on, /dev, /run, /boot, /run user. And that's very helpful because like, hey, why is my stuff actually filling up when it shouldn't be? This is how you use this information to go ahead and troubleshoot and see what's going on. Okay, so basic essentials of these kind of local storage knowledge or anything. Again, a lot of it you can't play with because you're going to be either on an online system or you're going to be on your own system, but it requires it to go ahead and kind of be like a actual server. So with that being said, everything else, just kind of know the topics are there, and how to go ahead and, again, you need to use the man pages, do the research and stuff like that, but that you can do these as an administrator, okay? So these are going to be very helpful, and it's going to be very, very useful moving forward in the lectures. So that being said, I'm going to move on to the next module. It's going to be 5.3, which is going to be talking about how we can talk about mounting and swap space. And with that being said, I'll see you on the next video.